Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week, The New Gods, issue number 5 from DC Comics. Written by Robbie with artwork by Evan Cagle and a guest spot for artist Andrew McLean. Absolutely phenomenal issue of New Gods from Robbie and his creative compatriots. And that is no surprise to anybody. This book has been absolutely riveting. It's been engaging, compelling, enthralling. It's been very incredibly interesting. But New Gods issue number 5 takes it up to another notch. This was such an epic book. This is something I love about this book. Just like a New Gods book should be, it is giant and epic in scale and in scope. But it's also, at times, quiet and about the personal relationships between these characters. And so there's a lot of emotional weight behind the story as well. So even though you have major, giant, sweeping action scenes and amazing, crazy, high concept stuff, it's still at the core is a story about family and finding yourself in the midst of family. New Gods is absolutely phenomenal. The artwork. First of all, Andrew McLean comes in to do a little bit at the beginning to set up some really powerful stuff that will pay off in this very issue. His artwork is amazing. And then Evan Cagle's artwork in this book is absolutely extraordinary. It's exactly what this book needs, exactly what it deserves, and exactly what we want. New Gods issue number 5, the pick of the week. Once again, absolutely phenomenal book. Also from DC this week, we got Summer of Superman special. This has got 3 different stories that are all tied together through one common plot, right? And each story is done by a different writer, but all of it is done pretty much by Jorge Jimenez as far as the art goes. So you got a story set in the past where this villain, I can't remember the name of this villain, but it's a Legion of Superheroes villain, shows up in the days of Superboy, right? And that's done by Mark Waid. Then you got a second chapter that's set in the present day where this same character comes through. So it's one of those things where a character's kind of popping in and out of time throughout Superman's life. This also involves the wedding of Steel and Lana Lang. So a lot of the thematics involve that as well. That middle story is written by Dan Slott, who's got a new Superman book on the horizon. Then the final story takes place in the present day, but sets up some stuff for the future that is also very closely tied in to DC All In and the whole saga as far as that goes, and that is written by Joshua Williamson. The artwork by Jorge Jimenez is absolutely amazing. This dude has killed it in the pages of Batman, in the pages of Super Sons, in the pages of Justice League, and it's really cool to see him in a Superman book, albeit just a one-shot special like this, but like I said, sets up a lot of the future of Superman to come, and it's tying in to the DC All-In saga. I think that's absolutely splendid. Great art, pretty solid stories all the way throughout. If you're a Superman fan, definitely check this out. There's a big push for Superman this year. I've heard rumblings of a movie. So there you go. We got a new Absolute book. We got Absolute Flash issue number 2. Jeff Lemire on the writing. The art is done by Nick Robles. I really liked issue number 2. I thought issue number 1 was solid. It's a new version of Wally West in this Absolute universe. Barry Allen is in there as well. But the first issue kind of went by very quickly, right? Now, it's a Flash comic, so I guess that's all right. It's got a breakneck pace, and in this issue, issue 2, it elaborates a little bit more on what's going on, even though it doesn't really answer a lot of those questions. It's got a new iteration of the Rogues. The Absolute Rogues are absolutely freaking cool. I liked this issue. It continues to intrigue me and compel me, and at the same time lead me into really anticipating the next issue. Once again, though, it is a quicker read than what most superhero comics are nowadays, but I do not fault it for that. It's got a really quick scintillating pace to me. I thought Absolute Flash number 2 was better than issue number 1. Then we got Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 38. I did drop out of Batman Superman World's Finest for the last few issues. I do want to get caught up. I know there was an Aquaman-centric story somewhere in there, so I want to read that. But after Dan Mora left this book, I just felt like an energy, like just gap in the book, right? That Eclipso story kind of wore itself on me just a little bit, so I stepped out, but I stepped back in here because this is the first part of We Are Yesterday, which is a crossover written by Mark Waid that crosses over from Batman Superman World's Finest into Justice League Unlimited. So we've had the reveal in recent issues of Justice League Unlimited of who Inferno is, who are the architects of this evil organization that's been picking apart the JLU, one by, well, they've been causing all kinds of chaos and commotion, right? And we had a reveal of who they are. The seeds to that started getting sown here in World's Finest. So even though Justice League Unlimited is set in the present day and World's Finest is this book set further in the past, by telling a past story, it is setting up things for the present day. So this one involves the Justice League realizing for the first time that Gorilla City is a thing that exists. Gorilla Grodd is featured heavily in this issue. It's got artwork by, who is it? It's Clayton Henry. The artwork's pretty solid. The story's decent. I was intrigued by it. It does have that old school flair and vibe that I'm used to for this book. And it does, in a really interesting way, set up what's to come in the next chapter, which is Justice League Unlimited. It's going to go back and forth between World's Finest, Justice League Unlimited, and an annual. I think a World's Finest annual. But if you're reading Justice League Unlimited and liking it, you definitely might want to check that one out. Then we got Detective Comics here with 1096. This is the final issue in the first arc of Tom Taylor's Detective Comics run. And Mikhail Hanin is still on the art. Now, on the last issue, the art had 3 different inkers, 3 different finishers, right? And it caused the art to seem very inconsistent. That gets ironed out a little bit here because there's only 2 finishers, one of them being Mikhail Hanin himself, and the other one being somebody else at the very beginning. So the pages in the very, very beginning, I mean, the consistency is still there, better than in the last issue, and it really is a very solid and satisfying conclusion to this whole story arc about what happens with, like, it involves like Joe Chill's daughter and Joe Chill's wife and the history with the Waynes and all this kind of stuff and this drug that Batman was taking that was going to give him youthful vigor back again. It all comes to a very satisfying conclusion. Maybe the story felt padded just a little bit. If it was one issue less, we could have had maybe a little bit more conscious effort and consistency on Mikhail Hanin being able to fit into the schedule. But that being said, I really liked this story of Detective Comics. I think Tom Taylor's done a great job with this character, a very intriguing setup for the story, and the artwork has been phenomenal throughout most of it, even though these last 2 issues maybe a tad bit inconsistent, but nothing that really pulls me out of the story. Detective Comics was pretty solid. Then we got Zatanna issue number 3. Jamal Campbell's artwork is absolutely amazing. There is no exception here in the pages of issue number 3 of Zatanna. But the story does feel a bit dull. It drags just a little bit, and at times it's not necessarily super clear. I think the artwork is cool and dynamic when it needs to be. The Jamal Campbell's a very dynamic artist. However, the story isn't quite as brisk or as dynamic or as kinetic as the artwork, and it causes this imbalance to me between the story, or at least the execution of the story. There's nothing wrong with the story itself, the plot of the book, nothing wrong with that, but just the execution with the dialogue and some of the pacing, it just hinders the flow a little bit. So Zatanna is one of my favorite characters. I want to stick with this book. I think Campbell is a really, really solid artist, but we got to pick up that pace a little bit. Zatanna issue number 3 was just okay. Then we got Wonder Woman issue number 20. So in the last issue of Wonder Woman, Tom King kind of brought an end to his big story that he had been doing about Wonder Woman versus the true king of America. I thought that whole story was great, wrapped up excellently. Now, what is Tom King going to do? Well, now he's got Gilliam March coming in to do a a short story. This is a continuing story. I don't know if it's a two-parter or a three-parter or whatever. It doesn't matter. This one, though, didn't quite work for me. The basic plot is this. Somebody kills one of the gods of Olympus, and Wonder Woman enlists the help of Batman to help figure it out. This is a story I've seen done many times before. Get Batman to help with the investigation of the death of a god. I think we've seen it pretty recently. I can't quite remember it, but it feels very familiar, and I don't know. I just didn't really vibe with this one, and I don't know if I necessarily like Tom King's interpretation of the friendship and relationship between Diana and Bruce. It just doesn't quite land for me, and I thought the book didn't really wow me as much as I was enjoying this book, but we'll see what happens in the future. This feels like it's just kind of like a placeholder story, a fill-in until they get back to the main thread in the narrative. So I didn't really like this issue of Wonder Woman. All right, then we got Nightwing issue 125. I think Daniel Waters is doing a really solid job with this book. I wasn't quite sold on his take on Dick Grayson and Bloodhaven at first, but over the issues, especially with the dynamic qualities of the artwork of Dexter Soy, it has started winning me over. There is like this excessive use of the police force, but it's done because they have upgraded their weapons and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of putting Nightwing in the middle of the criminals and the police, and that's an interesting thing that's being done there. In this issue, Dexter Soy has taken the issue off, and we have Francisco Francavilla. Now, Francisco Francavilla is one of my favorite artists out there. I love his art, very graphic, very pulpy. I love his coloring. I love this dude's artwork, and I think it actually, even though Nightwing does need a artist that has this dynamic kinetic quality so you can see all the acrobatic stuff and just leap off the page, for this story in particular, Francisco Francavilla's work is absolutely stellar. I loved it. This might be my favorite issue of Dan Waters' Nightwing so far. Then we got DC X Sonic the Hedgehog issue number 2, and just like the previous issue, this is just fun. This is just super fun. Now, I'm not super into Sonic lore. I played some of the first 3 games on the Genesis back in the day. Hell, I still got some of them. Maybe I should crack them open and just play them again, right? But I don't really know much about the lore. I don't read the comic book. But let me tell you something. If you're a Sonic fan, you have to be reading this book, because you got the Justice League teamed up with not only Sonic, but Tails and Knuckles and Shadow and all these other little Sonic people that I have no idea who they are, but I'm invested in learning more about them through this book. It's not going to change your world. It's not going to change your life. This isn't groundbreaking comics. It's just fun. And this is a book that kids will like. This is a book that adults will like. This is a book that Sonic fans, Darkseid fans, and DC fans are going to love. And yes, Darkseid is prevalent in this issue, and I couldn't be more excited. DC X Sonic, pretty freaking fun. Let's jump over to Marvel, where we have Godzilla vs. Hulk issue number 1, a second in a series of one-shots pitting Marvel heroes against Godzilla. Now, each one of these is a one-shot set in its own reality, its own world. The first one was Godzilla versus the Fantastic Four. That one didn't really work for me. Godzilla vs. Hulk works a little bit better. Jerry Duggan is the writer on this one, and the artist is Gypsy Kamenkoli. And I like this one a little bit better. It's kind of got a little bit of a 60s Marvel flair to it. I liked that. But the basic premise is Thunderbolt Ross believes that he has killed the Hulk. He's killed all these other monsters, and the only monster left that he hasn't really killed is Godzilla. So they try to find a way to kill Godzilla, but turns out the Hulk's still around. Some interesting developments happen with Godzilla and the Hulk. They kind of wind up a little bit in a feud and then a team up. It's interesting stuff that was happening here. Like I said, it's not going to change your life like the Sonic book, but it was kind of fun. It was interesting, and it had that classic Marvel vibe to it that I rather appreciated. So Godzilla vs. Hulk, I thought that was better than the first one. Then we've got Web of Venomverse, Fresh Brains, issue number 1. This is a one-shot comic, part of the setup for the upcoming Spider-Verse versus Venomverse story. Yeah, I know, I'm not excited about it either, but the Web of Spider-Verse thing that they did, where they introduced a few different versions of Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, was interesting enough, so I wanted to check this one out. It's got a great cover by Luciana Vicio, and Luciana does the first story. So there's 3 different stories in here. One is about a mouse, a little rat who turns into a Venom. The second one is about the Power Pack, one of the Power Pack kids becoming a Venom. And then the third story is about Eddie Brock Venom, who has learned the hard way about power and responsibility. None of these stories really stood out for me. I guess the rat one with the artwork by Dylan Burnett was really cool. But all in all, this one didn't quite hit me like the Spider-Verse one did. But if you're a Venom head, sure, check it out. It's got some first appearances. Web of Venomverse, Fresh Brains, issue number 1. Then we got Superior Avengers, issue number 1. This is part of the One World Under Doom story. And this was alright. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that great. But it was just kind of mid. It was right there, middle of the road. The story of this one is Kristoff. First of all, super cool that Kristoff is in a book. He's Dr. Doom's ward, his adopted son. I am a fan of Kristoff like crazy. So it's cool to see him here. And what he's done is he's looked into the future, into timelines where Doom has successfully reigned for so long. And he's plucked figures out of that timeline to form the current day Avengers to prove to everybody that Doom's world is going to work out. So you got a version of Onslaught, a version of Killmonger, Ghost, Dr. Octopus, and Abomination is like Captain Doom or something like that. Like I said, the book wasn't 100% amazing. It wasn't 100% bad. It was kind of right there in the middle. Me, personally, really appreciated seeing Kristoff in a comic again. So there you go. Then we got Cable, Love, and Chrome, issue number 4. The penultimate issue of David Pepose's Cable is fantastic. This book is so good. We had a tragic turn in the last issue. This book is basically Cable and Love, hence the title Love and Chrome. So we had a very dramatically tragic turn in the last issue. This issue is Cable trying to rectify that mistake and making more and more mistakes as it goes. It pulls at your heartstrings. This book has a really solid vision, and it's executing that vision incredibly well. This is the best Cable run I've read in years. Cable, Love, and Chrome is a must-read for Cable fans. All right, then we got Ultimate Wolverine here with issue number 4. It's an alright issue of Ultimate Wolverine. First of all, it's got a major tribute to Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X. So that's cool. It's got some really great artwork too by Cappuccio. The most of this issue is a wolf fighting a bear with captions of scientists going crazy while Wolverine, Weapon X or whatever goes berserk. It's straight up a riff on an issue of Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith. The artwork by Cappuccio is absolutely amazing. There's some big moments in this book I really liked, and there's a big thing at the end. So I think a lot of people are going to be reading this book and being like, what's going on? But it pays off once you get to the end, and if you appreciate the throwback to Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X. That being said, the lettering leaves a lot to be desired here. There's some off printing on it where it makes it hard to read because some of the captions are green, some are blue, some are red, just like in that Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X book. How many more times can I say that, right? But there are times where it's difficult to read because of the way that it's printed or something like that. So the lettering kind of throws you off a little bit here. But all in all, it was another satisfying enough issue of Ultimate Wolverine, though it does feel like we didn't get too much done, but there was a big reveal at the end. This is a variant cover by David Aja. This is going to get the cover of the week. I like that stark, crisp design. I think it looks cool. It'd make a really cool poster or print to hang on your wall. So it's the cover of the week. All right, then we got Wolverine number 8, a.k.a. Wolverine, issue number 400. I quit reading Saladin Ahmed's Wolverine book. So I got this, and it seems like it's ending this adamantium story that they've been doing, setting up another story, or there's another story in there involving Arcade or something. I didn't read those. I just skimmed them. The reason why I picked this up, though, is because there is a backup story by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson, and it is freaking cool. It's like Wolverine back in like samurai times on a mission of revenge. It's Daniel Warren Johnson doing Wolverine. Now, I'm not saying that those 8 to 10 pages are worth the $8 for this, but definitely worth checking out. And I always love it when they do this cover gallery thing. I always meticulously start looking through them and just reliving comic book history all over again. And now it's got me wanting to reread all of Wolverine Volume 1. So there you go. Let's jump over to IDW. And from IDW, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue number 8. Wow, this book just keeps getting better and better. Seriously, Jason Aaron is really coming into his own with the voices of these characters, the structure of this story. So much is going on, but it still is about the emotional core of these brothers, what they've went through together, what broke them apart, and their struggle to come back together. And the artwork by Juan Ferreira is absolutely stunningly spectacular. It is amazing. Some of the layouts and the composition on the page are so just brilliant, and they're so spectacular. They're so kinetic. The action on the page leaps off of the page. You can feel the movement in the book, and you can definitely understand the weight of what's going on emotionally with these characters. This is a perfect artist for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Plus, I get that Kevin Eastman cover. Kevin Eastman's coming back to the Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo in like a week and a half. I get to do another panel with him. I'm super excited for that. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 8, proof that this book is just solidifying and getting better, and its execution is damn near flawless at this point. TMNT, number 8, check it out. Also from IDW, we have Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, issue number 2. I loved issue number 1. Made it my pick of the week. How did issue number 2 compare? This was a really awesome follow-up to the amazing quality of issue number 1. First of all, the artwork in this book by Matt Frank is great. It's got a grit and a texture to it, and the monsters look super gnarly, and the humans, cartoony, they look as well, but there is a weight to them and a great emotional resonance. Like, they emote very well, but the action on the page, the design of the creatures, the story itself, it's about this world in which Mothra just got killed. These two sisters have to go back in time, find a Mothra egg, bring it to their time, have Mothra hatch to save the day, but these sisters aren't quite in sync, and it's causing a kerfluffle in their plan. This was a really great follow-up to issue number 2. Great monster designs, amazing artwork, and a stellar story. Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, a must-read for any monster fan. Then over at Image, I should say, we have G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Silent Missions, Spirit. So this one is a silent issue, once again, by Leo Romero, right? I love the fact they're doing these tributes to the Snake Eyes silent issue of G.I. Joe, 21, 22? I think it's 21, right? And they're doing the series of silent missions. This one is Spirit, and this one is written and illustrated by Leo Romero, and it's really solid. Once again, just great. It's a great exploration of sequential storytelling and how much this is a visual medium. You don't need words to get the point of the story across, whether it's the action and intrigue involved or whether it's the emotional resonance involved. It soars, it sells, it's pretty freaking solid, and also smells pretty good too. It's going to get the smell of the week. All right, also from Image and Ghost Machine, we have Redcoat issue number 11. Why? Because these go to 11. That's why. In fact, it's even going to go to 12, 13, 14, whatever, because Redcoat and the Unnamed Universe and Ghost Machine, I think, have a bright future. So we've been getting this character teased for months now of the Northerner, right? And the Northerner, and it's tied into the Civil War in some kind of form or fashion, and now we are officially getting the story of the meeting of Redcoat and the Northerner underway. So this is set at the time of the Civil War. Simon Pure is basically just looking out for himself. He's not choosing sides. He's playing both sides if he needs to. And the Northerner is on the way because something very important needs to happen. It was an intriguing setup. It doesn't quite fully get into the team up or the crossover or whatever yet, but it sets it up incredibly well. And this is a story, and this is a character that's been teased for a minute. And I'm finding myself super excited to find out more about this character. The art by Brian Hitch, the story by Jeff Johns. It's great as usual. And Redcoat was the one out of all these Ghost Machine books that I wasn't really vibing with at first, and it has definitely strengthened in my opinion and in my estimation, so I thought that was pretty cool. Then we got King Spawn, issue number 44. This is an alright issue of King Spawn. It's alright. King Spawn has actually kind of been a little bit in the last couple issues. Not lackluster might be the right word, might be the wrong word, but just kind of meh, just kind of there. Not really doing anything super exciting with the artwork, even in the bits that are supposed to be super exciting and explosive. Don't really feel that way. The story's just alright. There's some intriguing setups that are done in this issue, but for the most part, it's just kind of a dull, random, boring issue of King Spawn. So that sucks. But I still love Spawn. Alright, from Mad Cave, we have Buried Long, Long Ago, issue number 1. Written by Anthony Cleveland with artwork by Alex Cormack. The artwork is amazing. It's some of the best Cormack artwork I've seen. He's doing a little bit of a different type style here. It's still Alex Cormack, and you can tell, but there's something softer about it in certain moments, and his use of the faces and the emoting is strengthening, I think, in my estimation. The story itself, though, was just alright. It's about this mom and her daughters, and something nefarious is going on. I mean, honestly, it was just kind of hard. It wasn't hard to follow, but it just didn't really grab my attention or warrant me really feeling like I want to come back, except for to check out Alex Cormack's artwork, because I'm a huge fan of his artwork. He's a super cool dude. The art's great. It's just the story needs to move on a little bit more. There's this, so part of it's like there's the story of this witch or some kind of demonic creature who was buried in a place a long, long time ago. Now this mother of these sisters, or yeah, she's like, I don't know. See? You see what I'm saying? And I think I have pretty good retention. That one was just okay, but the artwork was great. Then we got Dick Tracy, issue number 9. Y'all, this Dick Tracy book is awesome. This Blank story has been great too. We thought we had a big reveal in the last issue about who the Blank was, but maybe that's not necessarily the case. This is intriguing as hell. I really like this book. I like how grounded, how brutally violent it is. It feels like a gangster story, more than, I don't know what you think of when you think of Dick Tracy. I think of like cartoonish, I think of the movie. I think of the movie and the action figures, right? So I think of cartoonish and silly. And this book leans into that element of it, at least the cartoonish element of the... Cartoonish is the wrong word, but the flamboyant nature of some of these characters. It leans into it, but it's very much grounded and feels like very pulpy and very cool. Now, I've never read the original Dick Tracy stuff by Chester Gold. I really want to. Got to get a hold of those hardcovers. But this is awesome. If you're a fan of Dick Tracy, if you're a fan of that movie, if you're a fan of just, or if you just want to get into Dick Tracy, I would recommend this book. It is supremely good. All right, from Dark Horse Comics, we have Sister Imperador. From the World of Ghost, which is the band Ghost. This is issue number 2. I was impressed with issue number 1, so I came back for issue number 2, and I felt lost. I guess there had been some time since the first issue. And then I kind of got caught back up on the story, but this one was rather dull. It was kind of boring. It never really engaged me, never really caught my attention, or should I say, re-caught my attention. So I was rather impressed with issue number 1, but issue number 2 didn't really do much for me. And then finally from Dark Horse, we got Usagi Yojimbo, 10,000 Plums, issue number 2, Stan Sakai, doing what Stan Sakai's been doing for over 40 years, which is the adventures of Usagi Yojimbo. This is amazing stuff. If you've never read it, you can jump in at issue number 1 of this. Forget the decades of stuff that came before, because the way that this book is, the book does have its own mythology and world that's been built, but you can jump in at any story and just follow along. That's what I did when I first started reading Usagi, like 20, 25, almost 30 years ago, right? But the book is just great. It's super cool. Stan Sakai is a master. He is a legend in this industry. He's continuing to do it. This is about a village that's got these plum trees, and they make like the best pickled plums in the world, and somebody is after the plums in this town. Usagi and his cousin and Jin, the rhino, they wind up in this town. They wind up helping out the town, and there's some really intriguing turns here. I would recommend reading Usagi Yojimbo. So, that's what I read. That's what I thought. Let's recap real quick. Usagi Yojimbo, you need to read it. If you're not, Shame. Shame. Sister Imperator, issue number 2, kind of lost me. Dick Tracy number 9 continues to soar. Buried long, long ago, some great Alex Cormack artwork, but the story a bit muddy. King Spawn was just kind of a meh issue of Spawn. Redcoat was awesome. The Northerner and the Redcoat have crossed paths, and I'm so excited. I love the build up to that. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Silent Mission, Spirit was amazing. Really great sequential storytelling from Leo Romero, and really great smell. Smell of the week right there. Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, continues the excellency of the first issue. TMNT just continues to get better and better, and Juan Ferreira is one of the best artists in the biz right now. Wolverine, issue number 400, aka Wolverine number 8. Didn't really read much of it, but the Daniel Warren Johnson story was worth it. Almost worth it. Like, alone. That was really cool. Ultimate Wolverine gets the cover of the week right there, and it was a pretty solid issue. Has some big moments, especially towards the end. Cable, Love, and Chrome. This has been a really solid, fun book. Superior Avengers. Wasn't bad, wasn't good. Kind of right there, middle of the road. Web of Venomverse, just kind of alright. Didn't really do much for me. Godzilla vs. Hulk I thought was better than Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four, and it had a nice, like, old school kind of vibe. Could have been better, but it was decent enough. DC X Sonic the Hedgehog was just stupidly fun. It was awesome. I'm having so much fun with that. Nightwing, Francisco Francavilla grounds Dan Waters' Nightwing, and I think it really helps it out there in that issue. Wonder Woman number 20 didn't really quite work for me. Don't really like Tom King's dynamic between Bruce and Diana, but we'll see. Zatanna needs to kick up the pace of the story because it's not matching the artwork, and it's kind of starting to lose my attention a little bit. Detective Comics wraps up Tom Taylor's first story arc pretty successfully, even though the art's just a tad bit inconsistent, but solid enough. Batman Superman World's Finest, the first part of We Are Yesterday, which is a crossover with Justice League Unlimited. I would encourage you to read this if you're reading Justice League Unlimited. Absolute Flash I thought was better than issue number 1, and a great reimagining of the Rogues. Then we got Summer of Superman Special. If you're a Superman fan, definitely check this one out. It's setting up important Superman threads for the Superman writers, as well as tying it all into the saga of the DC All-In universe, right? But the pick of the week is New Gods, issue number 5. Big moments, masterful strokes, beautifully written, excellently drawn, perfectly executed. New Gods, epic and small, all at the same time. As above, so below, so the New Gods. Rom V make the pick of the week yet again. So there you go. That's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!